Okay.
He's like every day.
Yeah.
It's a tight squeeze, but we're friendly. You're safe.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome. Just about everybody? Or do I need to hold the chair
We
here?
don't,
Is that an extra?
Yes.
Yeah, those are, okay.
but she's not gonna be here today.
Okay.
Bring this with you
Perfect
so
timing.
far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
Okay.
I
I've already been.
didn't, oh, well, I did, but I verified with you, because I thought, did we change that, or was that still on?
And if we are recording it, so.
Okay, perfect. We got it. I lost mine, so I asked them. Yeah, do we need to do any formal roll call?
Yeah, so, just the formalization, the time is now, or today's Monday, May 5th, the time is now 5 PM in the afternoon. This is a planning and zoning meeting, if you will, but I'll go ahead and call this joint work session of the Planning and Zoning Commission as well as the Board of Trustees to order to get this going. We are here in a joint work session for our comprehensive plan and the planning that is being completed by Site Southwest. So I'll just turn it over with that. Now the time is 5:01 in the evening.
Perfect. Yeah, good evening, everyone, and thanks for being here and being so prompt. My name is Danielle Wilson. For those of you who haven't met me, but I see a few familiar faces based on our last site visit in January and the community meeting that we had at that point. I also have my coworkers here with me today, so you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name's Allie Cassidy. I'm a planner with Site Southwest. I've been assisting Danny on this project.
Yeah, my name's Karina Rogers, also a planner, and I just hopped onto this project a little while ago, and I'm really excited to be here.
And Karina came to us from National Park Service. She has a background in historic preservation, and so we're really excited to add her expertise to the team because we know just how important historic and cultural preservation is for Mesilla and how much the town has already been investing in that in forever, but also in recent years. And so that's going to be a large component of what we're looking at when we're looking at actions and strategies for the town moving forward. So tonight I wanted to give you a little bit of a background in terms of where we've been and where we are since January. I wanted to talk a little bit about the data we've collected. So what we've heard from the community, not just through that first site visit, but also through a community preferences survey that we've had open the last month or so, month and a half, if I'm remembering my dates correctly. So a little preview of like, what are the residents saying? What is the community saying is important to them? And then we'll use that to jump into some guided questions that are a little bit more specific for each topic area. So we're at a point where we're looking at gaps in our understanding. So like, what don't we know? What do we need to dig into more? Where do we need your expertise as leaders in the community to help us figure that out and begin to prioritize actions for Mesilla moving forward? So I am going to jump actually we'll start with this slide because this was based on, I think, responses to the third or fourth question on the survey, which asked, what comes to mind when you think of Mesilla? And you can see pretty clearly from this how much people really prioritize that history of this community. History, historic, culture are clearly the dominant words there. You see agriculture kind of following behind that along with food, both that are kind of tying to that unique culture and like what makes Mesilla Mesilla. There's a lot about neighbors and the plaza, the spaces that also are really important to people here. That heritage, the peacefulness of the community overall. So I wanted to share this just to kind of set the tone for, again, how do people feel about Mesilla? And you can see it's overwhelmingly positive too. I think that's worth noting. I will say we do this exercise in communities all over, and it's not always quite so positive. People have very mixed feelings about the places they live. But really you can see here just how much people value and love their community. And I should say too, just as I'm going through some of the data, if you do have questions on things, just pop a hand up, let me know. Happy to jump in with questions when we want to. So I'm gonna back up one space here. We also asked what the top 3 priorities are for Mesilla. And again, you see that preservation of community history and culture is like the #1 answer. Close to 80% responded affirmatively to this one. And that was followed by maybe some bread and butter items when we're thinking about what communities need and want, such as improving roads and infrastructure, supporting the local economy and businesses. I will say that was also pretty high in terms of overall prioritization levels as we go through the survey, but not to be outvalued by protecting natural spaces, honoring agricultural heritage. But this does help us when we're thinking about, the town can't do everything. What are those things that we really want to focus on? And this gives us an idea. Oh, and I was going to mention too, there were 60 folks who responded to that survey. So it was a pretty good number. Not everybody was captured in that. So we're taking this in light of all the other things we're hearing from our community meetings, from the conversations the mayor is having with folks, from our meetings with staff. So all of that is building this vision of what we see as important for this campaign forward. We asked some questions about land use, and there were a few questions related to this, but I wanted to highlight this one because we asked about land uses that could use space in future growth for Mesilla, and I said choose all that apply. And parks and open space came up overwhelmingly as the top choice here again. And I know the mayor has asked some more specific questions related to park amenities and things that people might want in the future at existing parks and maybe a new one somewhere down the line. So we're taking that into consideration as well. And then residential and commercial were also still relatively high. Residential for sure is important. And I will say in more of the narrative open-ended responses, those were also options on some of these questions. People talked more about the need for housing, the need to be strategic about where that housing goes. We don't want to see sprawl. That was echoed many times over. But we do need spaces where people can build and live. So that's a high priority as well. And then commercial, I wanted to also note, we'll get into this a little bit more too, maybe on the next question, but strategic location is also important. And so thinking about our key corridors and our centers in town, Mesilla is not huge. So we want to really be strategic about where we're extending those commercial lines so that people are not having commercial in inappropriate places or next to farms and things like that. And so we did ask a question about, and I will say this one was worded in hindsight as I went back, somebody noted this in their open-ended response. I asked, what changes would you support to help achieve the town's land use goals? And the question came back, well, what are the town's land use goals? It's like, fair enough. And because I guess at that point I was thinking, okay, this is kind of obvious in my mind's eye, but I think people still latched on to the heart of the question, which was, what would still be in the spirit of keeping Mesilla with its unique character as it relates to land uses and future development. What are some of the tools we can use to do that? And interestingly, strategic annexation came up relatively high on that response. So again, not just being willy-nilly about this, but being very strategic. There could be some acquisitions that the town could make that could really help achieve what it wants to in the future. As I mentioned with the commercial, extending the commercial zone along Avenida de Mesilla to the south also ranked high, as did, and I think this one's key, sort of updating zoning or even like adding overlay zones for special uses in key areas. So 3 things that ranked pretty high there for folks who responded to this question. And I'm happy to send these slides later, as well as a little summary of the community survey. I'm realizing this is high level. You can dig into the open-ended responses because they are pretty interesting there as well. Next was what type of housing is most desirable to you. We wanted to get a feel for density levels, what people feel is appropriate, and single-family townhomes overwhelmingly. That just kind of makes sense here, and given the character of Mesilla, totally understandable. However, I wanted to also note these kind of second-tier options that one was not quite 50% of people thought that having live workspaces would be really nice here. And it kind of makes sense. When you look at the development patterns of Mesilla and historically some of the denser parts of town where you have these floor level businesses and ideally residential units that people could live in and affordably live in above them, kind of makes sense. And then townhomes also wasn't quite there at the level, but wanted to throw that in as like a slightly higher density option that people felt relatively comfortable with. And again, I would always add inappropriate areas. This won't be all over. I wanted to touch on the active transportation responses as well, because I think when people think about what they value most in their community, we heard this quite a bit, that the sort of quietness, the sereneness, the natural beauty of Mesilla is one of the big reasons why they live here, the access to the river. And so the town is already making really amazing strides and investments in this area, but emphasizing again, just additional walking paths. We know that's a challenge, especially in the historic core of the town. But this is a priority that people want to see the town continuing to invest in and improve upon. This was, I will say, mixed. Creating the trail along the Mesilla lateral, we saw a lot of really affirmative, yes, we should have done this yesterday, this is a great idea. But then we also saw some people who were very realistic about the property sort of ownership adjacencies and how tight that can be in certain sections of the lateral. And so some folks were like, people already use it as a walking path, why do we need to improve it? But then we heard from other folks who thought, especially for like people with strollers, for example, who are trying to connect to the park or the community center, it could be a really nice pedestrian connection. And if you're just paving a piece of it or a section or even doing compacted pressure fines, that could be a middle ground that people can still roll on, but it's low development enough that it might feel comfortable in that space. So just wanted to highlight that. In particular, traffic calming. Again, I wanted to commend the town for already working on this in a lot of ways, but noting it can be more intense during particular times and events. And so, yes. So we've been talking to Ethan about the lateral, and he totally. And what's kind of nice is actually their staff at this point, I can't speak for their board, is pretty open to rethinking their water network for recreational purposes. Primarily, it will always be agriculture, right?
Right.
But they are open at this point. They've been working with the City of Las Cruces on some projects that are similar to this. The Park Drain project is one that runs by Las Cruces High School, and working on some trail ideas there that probably are going to come to fruition in the next couple of years. So not out of the realm of possibility. But you're right, yeah, definitely it's not the town's decision unilaterally, it's very much an even conversation.
Rude question, I can't read all
Oh, yeah.
the lower, but you talk about active transportation. It has to do with like hiking, whatever. It has nothing to do with motorized transportation and also for shuttle service because of parking issues. I think it's just a nexus between parking issues and shuttle.
Yeah, and frankly also pedestrian safety. At that point. No, we did have a question before this. I didn't highlight it in this set of slides, but we do have some information there. And I'm happy to share that with you. Because I think that's clearly, actually parking came up quite a bit. Parking and just the tightness of streets and navigating that. Allie was here, Allie was here. First, yes, I did. So no, I think that's like a perfect example of how intense I think the use can become and how and it's again balancing the needs of like we're prioritizing residents. Obviously this is their plan, but visitors are also a really big part of Mesilla and the economy and everything, and people feel very connected to it even if they're not a resident. So it is balancing those needs, especially during events, as much as we can. There's some other ideas here too around ADA improvements and things like that. A lot of, and actually the open-ended comments here were pretty interesting. So again, I'll share those out for you guys to review later. And then talking about community services and facilities, this I thought was actually pretty interesting in terms of, and this was a ranked question, so they could order these however they wanted in terms of what was most important, but youth services came out highest in terms of what people thought could be improved or added on to, especially as it relates to programs. We did see a lot coming out, and I've got to be honest, I kind of went into this question thinking that might be flipped with senior services, I'm not gonna lie. And so I was very pleasantly proved wrong here, I will say. And so I'm excited to dig into that more, and with what kind of the mayor's thinking about for parks improvements and recreation updates, I think that's gonna go hand in hand. We haven't quite connected the dots yet, but we're working with some educators at Mesilla Elementary to get a better understanding of what kids actually want to see in their community. So we're hoping to do an activity with 4th and 5th graders there. It's just finding times that work with teachers who are very busy, so we're more to come there. But I do think that this is going to be something that it definitely should and will come out in the plan, is improving both amenities and programs around youth services and family services. Yeah. And then this is digging into it a little bit more, a little bit harder to read. There's a lot of colors going on, sorry about that. But what we wanted to ask was about different types of improvements that could go in, and where might they go? So within our existing parks, what could be most appropriate? And we saw a lot about athletic facilities, maybe not in existing parks, but perhaps in a future park. That's a high priority. We saw a lot about those improved play spaces and walking trails. And then public art, actually, I was kind of surprised at how high that ranked for some areas. And I know, again, the town has some plans to already get going on that, so there's a good leg up, and it's not like it's coming out of nowhere here, that idea. So. And then this one, I will say, everything ranked high, which is why you don't see a lot of differentiation. But clearly people have a lot of ideas and priorities for economic development. And the highest one, interestingly, was helping to support local farmers in transitioning to more sustainable growing practices. This is huge. And we've heard that come out in conversations we've had with individuals. We heard that at our first community meeting. And so we're going to be thinking really, hopefully creatively, about how we connect the dots between local growers, local educators, NMSU, as well as thinking about, again, our land practices and how that can either support or harm growers. And so those three things tied together, hopefully we'll come up with some good solutions to begin to get at that issue. There was also a point there, you'll see that the next one was attracting more essential businesses. I think there's kind of this thought of like Las Cruces is right next door, and so you can drive over to Las Cruces to sort of meet a lot of your needs in terms of groceries and healthcare and things like that. But wouldn't it be nice if there was something that was really local, truly local, that you could just go down the street for and not have to like make that trek? Yes, exactly. And that's truly, again, like what Mesilla is known for and specializes in. And so if that's valued by people, then let's find a way to make it work for the business. How do we create that market to make that happen and make it work for someone? Yeah. So those were kind of the two that I wanted to emphasize here. Supporting workforce development is a key one. We were thinking again about this sort of like student education to workforce pipeline and how Mesilla can begin to feed into that. We're hopefully going to dig into that a little bit and working with the educators at Mesilla Elementary. Yeah, just note that there. Okay, so I will say there's two things that I'm hoping to go to next, but before I do that, any questions just on what I've shared so far? Responses. And if not, we can get into it. So tomorrow night, I will say we're going to do this land use scenario design exercise with community members, which I'm really excited about. We're going to try to make it really accessible. We're going to have some parameters that talk about what we heard from the survey, specifically around land use to use as guardrails. So people, again, like aren't just going off what they want individually. They're really trying to think of the collective in making these decisions. And so I wanted tonight to dig into some of the questions, but first, before we did that, I didn't want to miss the chance to hear input from you around that. So just because it's something we're doing tomorrow with the community, I did want to talk about it a little bit more with you tonight. So before I do that, let me actually pass out, I've got some of those survey results specific to land use here. Oh, I thought I did.
Do you have an extra?
Actually,
This one I do.
maybe I left them on the printer, and that's okay. I might have actually left those on the printer, but I could pull them up on my laptop so we could reference them if we needed to. And that way we can still have them on hand. But what we're going to be doing tomorrow is working hands-on on the table and asking people 3 key questions, really. And the first is around where commercial is most appropriate in the CS. You've got your existing zoning map in front of you. And you guys actually have small copies, which is great. Thank you, Eddie. We also have a larger one. And then we're going to think about residential, and then we're going to think about agricultural land and open space. And then if there's anything where we need to start to maybe think about strategic annexation, we will also bump into that. But yeah, I thought we could do this together. And actually, I think the individual maps might work even better. And so I would say take some time individually first. Does everybody have a map though? Let me make sure first that that's the case. Everybody has one? Okay, let's start with our maps and then we can have a conversation around that. And that would work. And I'm realizing the colored pens though, shoot, they might be with you, Allie. I think I gave you all the orange, red, and green ones. So yeah, oh, darn it, okay. Shoot. And those would be back in the hotel, aren't they? Do we have any red or green pens available? Yeah, pens. Pens would be, or colored pencils, actually. I'm sorry, Russell, it's really on the spot. Yeah. I know, I was thinking that, but that was my call. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
It's like super close. I guess maybe it's.
Can I have you do that actually? And we can sort of shift gears then in the meantime. Yeah, thanks, Allie. All right. Yeah, stay tuned. Sorry guys for not having pens on hand, ready to go. And let me actually pull up the land use results. That way we can really still look here first. Residents.
Which is where? Oh, for this one? Magnifying glass.
Oh, yeah, that works. That's a good starting point. Allie's gonna grab some too. Yeah. No, that's good right now. I think we can start at least with the first question and then we can get going. So yeah, I was gonna say, if you can take or share a pink pen with your neighbor, that would be a good place to start.
Pink or red? Pink or red or pink and red?
You can take either or. I think we'll call them all red at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's different enough for me that it will be okay.
I'm ready to pencil.
We can get you the cup.
This is your street.
That's your street. Little teeny places, my love.
Yes, fajitas, right?
Which is in his front is exactly grandfathered into the RA zone.
Oh, that tiny one?
Yeah.
I used to visit her a lot.
Yeah. Yes, that's her house.
So,
She
yeah.
was a character.
Oh, she was. Of course, her and I were pals, so it's just makes sense that I'm there.
Yeah, your grandfather lived over here.
Just right,
Right, against the ditch.
yes.
Did,
That's my
your
grandfather.
great grandfather lived in that area too? In Houston?
No. No, my parents didn't, I mean, my grandparents didn't get to that little area until, about 1934.
Really? Because
they
where
lived,
did you, like her great grandfather?
Okay,
Probably
so
that.
I
They
wanted to actually
lived
do a
closer
couple
to
things
the-
here on the survey, just
to
to get
town.
to
I mean,
those
that, they
guardrails
knocked
for
down
what
those
we've done so
houses that
far
were
for the
there.
community.
Yeah, thank you.
So in this first question, we did ask about, this was the high level that we've already gone over, what elements need more space in the community, and then what can we do to help the town achieve those land use goals? We've covered that. We have some open-ended questions there. And then we get a little bit into, should the town consider annexing some areas to allow for more development of these needed land uses? And so it is interesting to see, so A was just north of town here. B is sort of the Rasta Hills, am I getting that right? Mesilla Hills, out there.
Don't do it.
I was gonna say, that's for us to discuss
Yeah,
today.
try that.
C is that land that's already residential abutting Las Cruces there, kind of extending that. And then D is just south of town off Avenida de Mesilla. And there was also the option to select none of the above. And so a lot of people actually, just about 50% thought that land just south of town could be a strategic annexation for the town, followed by A, which was just north of the town. Just as a reminder for everybody. So those two areas ranked highest for folks who responded to the survey in terms of possible annexation. And again, this is possible, this is not setting anything in stone. We also, down a little bit. Oh yeah, we talked a little bit about industrial. People in general, I will say, not at all interested in industrial unless it was really far removed from other land uses, and so that was just a note here for those open-ended questions. We also talked a little bit about housing and where it should be developed. And so from here, we had a little bit more possibility for development right in the core of town, a little bit north of town would be. C and D were sort of out here near Zia Middle School, connecting over to Las Cruces. And then E was just sort of like south. There's already some like smaller parcels just on the north side of. I'm already putting Bush Road out here. This is by your house, Russell. Sorry. No, okay.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, but
South of Snow.
yeah, South Snow. Thank you. Possibly down there. And so I will say B, C, and D, all relatively high, especially for B. So again, as a reminder, just kind of like north of Avenida de Mesilla, and then looking west of town, people were more open to residential. Okay, and actually that I think is about it for those questions. So we can go back to the maps and the questions if you want to for reference as we're going through. But does everybody have at least a reddish pen to share with their neighbor? Yeah, I would say take some time on your own to maybe think about that and think about where you think that expansion of commercial is most appropriate for Mesilla. You can draw it on the map. Yeah. So I know we're sharing. Apologize for that.
Mr. Mayor, I got a question. So if we're trying to identify locations for commercial, are we looking at annexation for that reason? What was the question? How do we pose it to the Sound see.
Yeah, so my
So
thought is.
I'll answer that better than me because she generated, or
Yeah.
the team that generated and joined those projects.
Yeah, and so I think my framing is that all options are on the table at this point. We really want to choose a scenario that is most appropriate for Messiah. If you feel strongly that annexation should not happen for whatever reason, then look within the town's current boundaries. Yeah, if you're open to it, then you can extend those commercial lines beyond where you think it could happen.
So I'm kind of wondering along those lines, is annexation easier from a political standpoint? Is Doñana County versus Las Cruces?
Yeah, no,
It
that's a
seemed
really,
like it.
yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that it really depends, actually, is kind of the not great answer to that. I think Las Cruces kind of has more staff and capacity in place to support that process if it were to go through, but it might also be a little bit easier on the Doñana County side because, yeah. there's
Well,
just-
that was the original identification for annexation. was Doñana County
Right.
location.
Right.
So when you look at it overall to help on answering
Right.
for annexation, it's not impossible for any community to annex another part of another community, aka if we were to look at the potential of Las Cruces,
Right.
they would have to disincorporate from that municipality, sit in a holding period of unincorporation, and hopefully potentially be incorporated into another municipality. So it's not common, and it's usually for areas. It's not for specifics. So you're looking at full areas. The county, on the other hand, is that option of viability. And also, I mean, BLM land is another potential of that. So.
Question. So did you mark by Las Cruces and why is Doñana County or around the town?
We have it marked out on that map, so
Okay.
you can see it there, not on the map in front of you, and I apologize for that. So you can kind of see, yeah, maybe I can make that a little bit more defined. Yeah, so Las Cruces is sort of like a really faded orange color here. And so you can kind of see that boundary up there to the north, there's a little bit of right there. And then here is a bit of jigsaw puzzle that city through that stretch, county in this sort of L shape. And county all, and then BLM. We did differentiate BLM.
So this is, I didn't think about Glasswood, but it's,
Yes.
Glasswood,
Yeah, for annexation.
yeah. It's unincorporated, it's not, it's not.
No, yeah. it's county.
That's Bird Lake right there, it was,
Used to be like.
Burn Lake is the one that's up on the top side.
Oh, it's on that side,
Yeah, the top side.
So where is that portion of this map?
It is sort of north here. Yeah,
That's
that
the
chunk right there. Yep.
Oh, there's-
Yep.
What are the advantages of annexing a residential area?
Yeah, so it's tax base. I think that's probably property tax, yeah.
Utility.
Yes, utilities, yeah, if they already have city, yeah, it's kind of nice, you don't have to extend your own utilities to accommodate those households. Those would be the two most obvious. But we're on commercial. But we are on commercial right now, yeah, let's start with commercial. And yeah, I think a few more red pens came around, so thanks Ellie for that, yeah. Yeah, red pens here.
I think that it's important for everyone to know as well, just in our 2017 comprehensive plan, for commercial in particular, what you look at is that there was the thought of coming down the Avenida and building all of this commercial up until university specifically. So that's already been a part of the plan for the commercial zone, historic commercial zone. Let me rephrase that, not general commercial. So that's up to that. Just to have that as perspective as well of what's already been previously suggested in the 2017 comprehensive plan for commercial zone.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how that relates.
With the area
Right here.
Okay.
So this right here along the way. Was planned up to this point right here. And this is Conchita. So
Theoretically, you could do that.
that was part of the discussion last time.
But, I was gonna ask, because I brought up the idea around this area of university. Either overlay zone or something to see how we can flexible use.
Yeah.
Permit.
Yeah.
There's no water.
Yeah. Right, right. So I think, yeah, it's kind of
I
noting
like
that
this
could be
area that
done
already has those.
commercially, that you might be
Projects
finding that too
here,
strictly at this
people
point, like that could
may
be
already
really
think it's
like a special overlay.
Yes, where you could have
It
agriculture.
benefits from that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to, let me give you a normal pen, if you want to just write that in too.
Some of these, I think there's other
But I think I talked
businesses.
about
We did talk about that, yeah. But if you want to add it to the map, you know, for visual reference.
this. I don't care.
Right, I don't know. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, is it? I'm pulling like maps.
It's very often.
Yeah. I'm like, I think.
Just looking.
Look at our maps. Is it?
Is that right here? I would say maybe take this.
Yeah.
So stay on this side.
Yeah.
Well, underneath how many responses, did they say 60?
Yeah.
And commercial was the highest one? Because I just don't.
But this area right here, we done from University all the way to the college, it just connects.
Yeah, but that would really change everything about Mesilla, because
I know, but
that's the green
green
belt.
belt.
And it's the corridor of knowing
Exactly.
you're in farmland
But
versus
what
you're
other,
in Las
what
Cruces.
other options are?
I know. I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't any other options, or there is, or that we need to totally go with
Taking it
60
back.
people's opinions about growing the commercial zone. Because what would we want in that commercial zone? We don't want industry,
You know,
or
why
a
not
certain
people-
type, and
or
I mean,
change stores.
or chain stores. I don't want a Motel 6.
Yeah.
I mean, what do we want in there? Do we want little mom and pop shops? Probably, but do we need to make that a commercial zone? So I'm,
And I would say, I feel like I defined it a little bit too specifically by just calling out commercial. To your point, Jerry, it could be an overlay zone
But
that has more specific.
you could do a mercado with pop shops, with a little
Yeah.
boutique hotel, and try to keep it in a small size.
Absolutely,
And then with green space.
right.
Yeah.
Give it more guidelines so that it doesn't just.
But that's what I was thinking when I was thinking of that, an overlay zone there too. So.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and what would that bring into, I mean, gross receipts taxes, I mean, annexation has always been, and changing codes has always been, I mean, Rossop Hills probably was a very good idea when it was up because of the housing there and what that actually brings in, but that was.
Yeah, because here you could do an overlay zone.
It was just.
That's
I mean, it was voted on,
mercado,
and it
a
was
mercado
rejected.
area with a
Right.
boutique
Rossop
hotel.
Hills.
And
No, it
restaurants.
was illegal, that was.
Which I think
The process was illegal. That's the only reason.
Okay, well, then it was river restarted.
Yeah.
And then north of Glass, I mean, it's already industrialized there, you know, and I don't know that we want to incorporate industry. It's kind of a weird space right
No,
now.
it depends on the.
I mean, just thinking about,
No, that's exactly what it's supposed to do.
about what it would actually look like, not what it looks like on the map, but what it would look like driving
In fact,
down the
one
road.
time I earlier meeting, I said,
And, you
if
know, all
Dorado, I
these,
mean, if we could develop that into a brewery with a restaurant, it have an industrial feel because that's a historical building. And connect it this way and have a
So,
walking path.
I will call
Connected
everybody
to-
back just for 1 second. So there's great conversations being had, but I wanted to say, if you feel too limited by how we've clearly defined residential, commercial, open space, and ag, feel free to deviate. We're already having conversations about overlay zones down here. And so if that's something that you think is maybe more appropriate than how we've sort of separated out these uses here, feel free to sort of write that in where you think it's appropriate.
Because in this area here,
Yeah.
I was thinking of developing
Yeah.
with a walking path that
Yeah.
would connect to the area down here. In other words, not on the sidewalk that's there, but having a nice green
Like a
path.
separated.
Like you could have a mercado with small stores and restaurants and a boutique hotel.
Yeah.
We could even try to develop a cultural center in there.
Right, absolutely. On the corner of University, you're thinking, yeah, this is a great idea.
But that's my vision, and
Yeah.
try to preserve that green
Yeah,
and make it walkable too.
definitely. I was gonna say, I'm gonna pass out, we don't have as many orange, but if you guys wanna pass around the orange to begin to think about where that residential should go, based on what you've heard, based on what you know, add that in.
But I don't know, I mean, do you see any development in the area?
Well, I just know, I mean, it's a great idea to build something right there, but we already have, I mean, businesses are closing in our town all the time. I mean, we have probably 3 or 4 empty buildings, historic buildings right now that people aren't able to sustain, you know. They open a business and then it shuts right down. So I'm not sure that opening a brand new commercial corridor or an overlay right here is gonna actually bring in business. I don't want it to sit there empty either. If we invest all that money in doing a.
It wouldn't be done all at once, it would be done by phases.
It would have to be done.
And going into the future, I mean,
Yeah, so I'm just trying to think of what we have right now and what would be the best use of what we have right now. So I'm not
which
sure
is this
that
area right here.
I'm not sure that a big expansion of commercial property is the answer to what.
Well, it's really an overlay, so it remains the same, zoned the same way, but with different options to use the land in the future.
I get
I mean,
it.
20 years from now, 25 years from now.
Yeah, and we're gonna be looking at another comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
You know, we're reviewing it all the time, and not that we don't wanna be forward-looking like that, or an overlay or whatever, but sometimes that language is, you know, you'd have to have a very good definition of overlay and not, because then as we progress, it can be interpreted as all commercial, right? I mean, I just want to be careful with the way we use
But
language.
it could be worded in a restricted way.
Right.
Into our historical type of
That's what I'm saying, is that, you know, I mean, sometimes we use language that can be used on a wider basis.
I'm thinking more in the future. Because this is it's developing already down here. And
There's already plenty of land over here in the C zone.
right here.
Yeah,
there
there's
is
plenty of
yeah.
that,
So
but
that
nobody's building.
that needs to be developed in some way.
Yeah.
And one of-
And even right behind there, that's what we're talking
Yeah.
about
But
here.
what wasn't one of the original thoughts for that was to have same thing where people would live on the property and have a business. It never took off.
I mean, there's an RV park right there, right? The RV.
But it's in Las Cruces.
Yeah, yeah. That's right.
Siesta RV.
Yeah.
I guess how do you all feel about RV parks and like their appropriateness?
I think we already have one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good
Yeah.
one. Well, that's a good one.
I mean,
That
it's
one
right
is good.
next to us,
Yeah.
yeah.
it is what it is.
And we don't even, I don't know that we have enough space
Right, that's true.
situated
To do one elsewhere.
in, I mean, Siesta, pretty much everybody thinks it's in Mesilla, that RV.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, exactly. So this is how saying people already think this whole area is.
Oh,
Mesilla.
yeah, yeah, I know somebody who bought a house there years and years ago, and the realtor told him, oh, well, you'll be in Mesilla. When him and his family found out that it wasn't Mesilla, they were devastated.
Maybe we should annex all that area.
And that's what they were talking about years and years ago. Yeah. But again, remember, Ken was talking about annexing us when he was
I
mayor.
can't see us annexing anything from us. It's already designated us.
They're not gonna let go.
Especially if it's near us, because that's
The county would be their best option.
that's the biggest tax base is the most.
Yes.
Anything close to us is more valuable than anything not
Is there a
close to us
marketing
other than
strategy that's
Pzhac.
going to be used to develop?
I'm just saying.
No, yeah, and all that area they're developing is there.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to be realistic about what we could actually do.
Because
And like I said, I mean, what
I remember.
I mean, I was reading through the comprehensive plan of 2017. And the problem is that I don't know what we've done regarding that plan. And so I had asked her, take all that, there's nothing there. Yeah, what it was that had been accomplished out of the 2017 plan. Because it doesn't, to me, it doesn't do any good to be looking ahead. 2017, like if is to be commercial up to we're over here in the Peak area.
We do that.
There's a plan in 2017 where that's.
I don't think it was to develop it, I think it was just.
This area, it's where your grandparents live right there.
Right, well, I'm just
That
saying
south of-
that has been open to development all that time, and it still hasn't been developed.
I don't think people, I don't think people can afford,
But
you know, then we had
but there's
COVID and all
areas
that.
in this
I'm
part of Union Avenue
I
on the
have
south side.
hoping that Peak store, or not the Peak store, but the Casablanca, his plans and will bring in people to the area, because that could maybe spearhead some of that other development. If he's successful in bringing in people.
Right, I mean, and we've had a lot of people who've been in that area. I mean, we've had lots of businesses go. I mean, you know, the doctor's offices that open
The
there.
big question about this is
I mean, at
water.
least they're still
We
open.
have water systems.
I keep forgetting.
Yeah, the doctor, the private school.
Oh, yeah.
Has changed a couple of times. So I'm just saying, I mean, I just think. I just don't know, I mean, I need to look at the comprehensive plan of 2017.
Put it in there.
What was our goal
Can
there,
afford
and why haven't we achieved that? And
My
what can we do
brother-in-law does
different this
domestic
time?
wells.
I mean, I don't see how we go from here, and we don't know what happened between 17 and 2020.
Well, I know too, with the 2017, it was a lot also.
And then the water table.
A big part of it too was the biking paths, the trails, so it was, that was a process too. I just remember all that being part of it.
Right, well, that's why it hasn't really been done since 2004. So I get that, but even the bike paths, I mean,
Can that be restricted?
Right.
the flow.
Putting it, yeah. And I just, you know, don't have a lot of.
out what are the goals, what did we accomplish, whatever's left, that's
And
what
then
we're
the
trying to
student does a
do.
lot of
So
research.
we're building our
Oh,
transactions from
are very
that. So
Okay.
I pull that out and report on that. Okay.
Because that's the
Yeah, that'll
report
be
to me, that's the report
On 2017 to where we're at now. And I just know, being a part of it,
But there's no good way to get
try to maintain, define
That's
zoning,
why people are
or
considering.
green belt, but it also
or
incorporated the bypass, rails,
or have the money or have the time to sit at the desk and respond. And I
Yeah.
yes, I know about it, right? But I just feel like probably most of the people on
It's
my
like this
street
area right here.
didn't answer.
Right, right.
So, which I guess
So
it
why
would
did
go
it go
door to door, see,
Yeah.
sit on the survey or whatever, because I just feel like the
So that's
survey is
where I was
only as
thinking,
good as the people
they're
that
big
respond.
tracks, they're like existing houses.
That's all we can think for future.
So, I mean, and it's valuable, I'm not saying it's not, but I don't think it's the entire picture. Because I think as soon as we try to do something with the commercial zone, then we'll see 400 people come out and say, we don't want commercial zone.
And a lot of it's like contingent, like I was explaining, on other information, like if the bike paths are gonna happen, then maybe yes, we should build a commercial zone, then maybe we should do residential next to that, so it's kind of like.
And this actually was industrial.
Yeah, before it was.
And we rezoned it to,
It might be that, but there's,
yes, so he could have the
or
towers.
there's a drainage ditch too.
Which I'm not opposed to, I mean,
Drainage ditch is just
we
that
haven't
road
done a
six.
lot with that. I mean, it's been that way, but it is, I mean, we hold the green belt pretty important, especially entry into the town.
Yeah.
It has to be overlaid, it has to retain that.
It's a distinct separation
What do
from
you think about?
cruises or,
Because
you
eventually
know.
there's
Yeah, it is. It really is.
housing.
It has to be, or else we lose what we.
And I remember moving back and was so upset
That's
when
farmland.
all this became developed. Remember, and then the city was, I mean, there was this
Looking at
huge green belt, and then the city started building, and then we changed the zoning, or not we, but the zoning was changed.
Right, yeah.
And I was just, but then, you get into all those arguments about why, farming, money,
Yeah,
water,
they lost
Right,
flexibility in the
and you need revenue.
And I think we do need to consider, I mean, can we support all this rural farmland with
I
the water we
understand
have? And I would
preserving,
say,
but you cannot preserve it entirely in its entirety.
Yeah.
because
And I think
things
two
change.
things, so we do also have, I realize I didn't have it here, but we have a large map looking at the actual land use throughout the community. And it's telling to put that land use side by side to zoning, because we see what's actually happening versus pockets of
It's just an
residential.
option to really
And so,
look
it,
at
you know,
realistically
it's
how
just
we
showing
can
like there are a lot of
sustain
non-conforming
agricultural
uses, some probably still very much conform because they're rural farm and
but merge it with
you know,
something
you're allowed
else.
a house or whatever, and so, it is telling to see those side by side. And we'll have this.
It's like that.
tomorrow. I hope you guys don't mind, but kind of also my guinea pigs for tomorrow, so I'm gonna iron out everything after this. before we're here.
see, and some of this,
I think
some
that's
of
a good
this,
idea.
like I can tell you right there, that
Especially when
property
they
right
create,
next to
I mean,
mine, that's actually
Great
one
for local wineries.
property,
Have
and
industry here.
it still has that line, it's still recorded
So
at the
can you tell
county as two,
this
but
is
it's not two, because it was non-conforming. And so when they
Not just
bought
what they
it,
say,
the
no.
stipulation was you gotta make it one.
Yeah.
But, nobody enforced that, so it still looks like two. And neither one of them is conforming.
That's
Yeah,
not
exactly.
like on
So,
Bouts.
yeah, one example of like.
Yeah. Of
winery.
Yeah.
Or have
And
that
all
local
along,
wineries buy
for
grapes.
sure, the RF zone on University.
So I am gonna call everybody back. I know there's still lots of conversations happening, but we're getting a little close to the hour. And I wanted to say, I kind of mentioned this down here, but thank you also for kind of being my guinea pigs tonight. We're able to like iron out where you guys have questions. Certainly the community will have questions. So we're gonna add in some meat and potatoes before we get to this exercise. So people, and I think adding some definitions too for some of these things that we're talking about. will really help tomorrow. So thank you first and foremost. But secondly, I just wanted to say, again, this is an exercise to think about what could be. We're not tied to any of this, but it should help get the conversation started about where we want to go and ultimately what's going to work best for everyone. So we only have about 5 minutes left, but I wanted to ask if anybody wanted to just share out some of the highlights from what they captured on their map, or no pressure, obviously. Again, this is not you writing anything in stone for Mesilla in the future. It's more, yeah, your ideas and your vision.
I can see it now, yeah.
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 So, any
Just
brave.
don't sign your name on there.
No, it's anonymous.
Eat the papers, eat the papers.
Yeah.
Eat the paper.
I'm really proud of what they
Get my fingerprints off.
Yeah.
Oh, that camera.
Go for it. Yeah.
What is the likelihood that we could ever even annex housed areas, residential areas now?
I
That
think it
seems
is.
kind of tiny.
It depends on the appetite of the residents, right? And so like
Would they rather be
sometimes,
county?
right, I was gonna say, sometimes people really, they move to the county for a reason and they really want to stay a part of the county. And so that is a potential. Yeah. But I think there's also the value that you get when you become a part of an organized municipality, which is, city services or town services and
Fire.
yes, fire. And so there's real,
Yeah,
right,
and
there's real
Mesilla-
benefits definitely for infrastructure overall, I would say. And so it's just when you're thinking about that, it's making the case for why the town is pursuing that. And I think it comes down to public education too. And ultimately it may or may not pass because it's up to the people, but yeah.
I got a question because I kind of remember, maybe somebody else remembers better, but that Capri area of Aspire Las Cruces, didn't the town annex?
Only part of it because the mayor at the time, it was an election year and there was a city councilor and a mayor that were running. So they had to stop where the boundary was from Mesilla to the city of Las Cruces.
But
And it was for politics.
it was strictly political. I was trying to remember
There
the
was
history
an
of
election
that, yes.
year and
What year was that like?
1990s, wasn't it?
no, I think it was
80s?
I think it was 80s.
Just a decade.
Yeah, that was a long.
It was a very long time ago.
That wasn't anywhere near.
Which one is it?
So I will say, just as like a note for us as we're documenting, if you could just make sure, like, if you wrote something down, make sure it's legible for us to read after the fact. We really this is really important.
They got it didn't mention
information for us.
names.
Yeah, you don't have to write your name
No,
down.
I was just remembering little comment about why the annexation of Mesilla Park.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, for me, it's a little frustrating because if you look at Bouts Road and north of Bouts and east of HC and south of C, that triangle.
Yeah.
That's not accurate. It's not our. It's
Ah.
it's R1.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be yellow.
Okay.
Part of that. I'm not saying
Okay.
all of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jerry,
Bouts.
the annexation. of Mesilla
Was that
Park
Reuben Smith?
R1.
Okay.
It was supposed to be bigger, but there was some residents that weren't happy about it. So that's where it got.
Not that one?
Okay,
Okay.
so I was trying to remember.
Yeah,
this.
and we're gonna
It was
go back
By
and
Reuben
check too
Smith.
for the large
He used to
ones.
live
I
in
think we
there.
got a couple
Yep, exactly.
on that one.
You know who told me that was,
So, yeah, but this is all full farm acres.
they live in Mesilla Park. I used to work with her at the county. Oh, it's skipping my mind.
Okay, so just
But
curious
she's-
too, I
they
know
still
we're
live there.
running up to time, but yeah, I just wanted to say again, thank you guys for taking the time to go through this exercise. I know it was a little bit. Okay, are you sure?
We have a meeting
Yeah,
that starts after
Di
the
Matteo.
work session with no
Okay.
it used to
specific
be,
time.
Diamantina?
Well, we don't
Huh?
want to necessarily go
Run too.
Yeah.
Diamantina?
like long.
Okay.
The wife's name was.
No, that's
No,
another.
somebody else.
Somebody else.
Okay, I might actually backtrack real quick though. I did get word from the mayor. I might take another 5 minutes if that's okay before we jump to the next session.
Because how often do we do this?
I know, that's the thing.
We do it more often.
I might actually like pull a teacher, and if you, I kind of want to hear from each one of you if you want to share just a highlight. You don't have to share everything with your map, but maybe one thing between these zones that we've talked about. I know we talked about overlays as well. What is one thing from your map that you pulled out that you think is important to change for the future of Mesilla? So again, no wrong answers here, no pressure. But I might start down at this end. I know we had a lot of conversation that was really good. Oh yeah, one question before we jump in. Yeah.
Oh, no, I mean, are you asking for input or just questions?
I think input. So sort of after going through this, like what is one thing that you think is kind of essential to change for Messia's zoning or land use in the future to help it?
I gotta say, it's starting to me like Stephanie was referring to, like, West Union and McDowell. That whole, I mean, that's a whole residential community, and we cut them in half. One's incorporated and one's in other one's.
Right. Yeah.
So it almost seems natural to me that that's the first thing we want to do.
Sure. Yeah. And that came up, that was the highest ranking for the housing question up there that people said that area. Yeah. Should be
More
annexed.
housing.
Yep. Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah.
If there's one thing I was trying to make any potential expansion of commercial contiguous with the existing commercial area.
Yes. Okay. Yep. Yeah, that's great. Anybody else? Yeah.
The green needs to stay, I think.
Yeah.
I don't want the rest of it.
Yeah.
And then we need to take everything else around it before this stuff. So if it's green or R1, whatever needs to happen after classrooms. That would be helpful for the
Okay.
third, to be, not for Chris's to come in and.
Become surrounded.
Yes, be surrounded.
Mhm.
So I think keep that, not take off anymore, but add.
Yeah. Yeah, keep
Or
buffers.
whatever we
Yeah,
have
keep
buffer
buffers with the
zone.
city.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's good. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm sorry, if I could add, I really like the concept of, I like the concept of, kind of like a river walk idea, like, why don't we expand, when you go across, we were talking about Carlsbad, and that river, why don't we do that here in the city? You know, we can really expand on it, we've got natural resources to really not quite tapping into.
Yeah.
Well, there is that trail.
Oh, yeah.
Although we're talking about like something that would
Yeah,
bring
just
you.
like that, but then like, you know, that provider that you can go on those boats up and down, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Like I would, for me personally, sorry, but I would have more cottonwoods, we cut those cottonwoods down. I used to climb those as a kid growing up. Right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I agree too, that we need to try and tap into the river and get some more, see if we can.
There's no water.
Put something else out there.
Pretend.
Well, there's 3 months out of the year.
We're gonna pretend we got water in.
There's so much beautiful wildlife out there. You go there, there's even the horse salt.
I mean,
There was
we could,
bosque everywhere.
I know, but it's not there now.
All the way down the river, down south.
I was gonna say, yeah, anything is in there.
I just want to say that, you know, we had in this conversation right here, right before the fiesta started on Saturday, we had a great community meeting for the Rio Grande Trail, which is a deal that they're trying to get going to create the Rio Grande Trail, to start down at Sunland Park and follow the Rio Grande all the way up to Santa Fe and going all the way through, right? So portions of Albuquerque has almost through all their city bounds have it fully designated, fully done. As it was noted here, we have it done through Mesilla, through parts of Las Cruces, going all the way towards Leesburg. We're starting to get some of that designation. Sunland Park has parks designated, but we're really looking at the connectors there. Now, it was brought up that the river's not full and doesn't have water, but I think that in that conversation that we had on Saturday morning before the fiesta started, it was brought a bunch of key stakeholders to the table for this conversation. That it was really, this is why it's important, because then we bring the attention to why we have a river that used to be one of the biggest rivers in the state, in this area of the country, as a matter of fact, and now it's empty, right? And it sits empty a majority of the year. And maybe in the future, that gives us the opportunity to actually have those conversations on how we get the water flowing again, what we need to do to get the water flowing again, and everything to that extent, especially when we get people on that more often, more frequently, because they see it empty now and they start asking those questions. And we start building some of the infrastructure along there that shares the history, that shares the story. I had a resident from another community that shared an awesome map with me that shows the river as it used to be in 1854, that's just on an old canvas with all the cottonwoods all physically hand drawn onto that river. And it's just absolutely amazing to think about how it was and what it used to look like. And that's an opportunity that we have because part of that river runs in our community truly. And we can share that with our residents, with our community as a whole, with the Las Cruces community, and with, of course, travelers that come through that are looking for that kind of thing.
It would be nice to kind of figure out how Carlsbad was able to dam up part of theirs so that we could dam up part of ours, so that we could have it like.
We have the
always.
Mesilla Dam, but that's
Right.
not a part of Mesilla, right? So that's just literally right down the road, you know, but
Right.
who knows?
Let's take that, let's
There
annex
again,
that,
there again,
yeah.
it's an opportunity, potentially. One side is county, the other side is BLM.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And yeah, outdoor recreation, I will say, didn't get into it in the results we looked at, but that was high on people's minds as well. Not just biking, but also river access, and trail access there. So, yeah. Any other things that you wanted to point out from your map that you thought were very important to the future?
I do have to say that annexing some of the areas that are further out on like 28, if we could, you know, to kind of, so that we could bring in like maybe a small grocery store or something that people would actually stop at as they're going to San Miguel and these other little towns, they'd stop at that local store, which would bring more revenue into the city.
Totally. Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Anybody who hasn't shared yet, one thing.
I think with us preserving the green area, I think we really have to dive into how we preserve that and what we're doing to help farmers. Because I think when we talk about overlay, I think it's just an opportunity to utilize their land more. Like whether it's we review our cotton industries, kind of like the winery that just happened. Putting a vineyard on there, so they're utilizing the land, but they're able to still an income. So I think we really have to dive in and how we preserve the green space, because we can't just say preserve the green space and not have a plan for farmers, especially when we're low on water sources.
To complement that, we could partner with NMSU because that's an ag school. I mean, they're doing the same thing, researching how to sustain farming.
Right.
Well, that becomes the side of economic development that we look at fully, and how do we work with our federal designation to look for federal funding that might help with water usage that is put in through federal dollars that is more sustainable, than flooding fields and flood irrigation, where we see a lot of evaporation.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
They're more.
A lot of that, just to follow up on that, what I always think of is our indigenous farming techniques and how to use that and incorporate that. I know IAIA just got a huge farming grant for their agriculture and to kind of learn those techniques, and that would be like, yeah, more sustainable, and that's time tested and true, you know, for them to be able to use this more.
Sorry, who received that grant?
IAIA, the,
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
right,
yeah.
mhm. In your neck of the woods.
Yeah, I was just curious. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just to piggyback on that, then if we're doing all the sustainable and educator,
Mhm.
we take that youth
Mhm.
group and we start to
Oh, yeah.
show them what sustainability is and how you can do it. And the Taylor with the adobes, like
Yes.
expand that into, I mean, for my house, I would have to go to the river and cut all the, I don't know how it's in English, but it's hule. It's
Salt cedar.
The salt cedar.
Mm-hmm. That aren't
native.
native.
Back on the road to preserve. So they, all that can be taught to our youth, and then they won't be just playing basketball at the community center, but they will be doing other sustainability projects that they go right into, and then too, and then maybe we can keep some with ag.
Right, right, definitely.
Kind of along those lines, yeah, I ride my bike along all these areas, and I'm real concerned about a lot of for sale signs and a lot of mansions going up. So I think we're losing our farming. Maybe because of that, but because of water is so expensive for pumping it out, and it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of trying to look at other opportunities that are more sustainable in our, so we can keep the green. Because it's, I see a lot of land that's what's it called, fallow?
Yeah,
Fallow.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just, there's a lot of land that's
Right.
fallow. So
Right.
what's the reason behind it? It'd be nice to talk to the farmers and say,
Right.
it's expensive and it's hard work. And some of the families, the kids aren't wanting to farm.
Right,
And
right.
the parents are dying off or moving somewhere else.
Yeah.
The kids aren't farming. So it'd be interesting to see how we can use that, some of that for housing, for cluster housing, which we already have in our code.
Yeah.
And also for sustainable farming.
Yeah.
And have some income for it. So.
And I might put a plug out there on that note. So we haven't talked to growers yet, but we would like to. So I was gonna say, if you guys have some direct contacts that wouldn't mind if we bugged them, gonna put that plug there. So I'll get my card out too once we wrap things up, so you guys have my direct contact that way. Yeah.
I just want to put a plug in, just in general, from being in planning and zoning now as an elected, and looking at our overall the zones as a whole. But one of the biggest things to have a discussion and to think about is, and hopefully it comes out a little bit more, is all of our non-conforming lots that we have throughout the town. Especially when we look at R1 zoning in the Mesilla Park area, where it's supposed to be a 1 acre minimum for R1, but yet those lots are maybe a quarter of an acre, a third of an acre. So they're all legal non-conforming. Right. But if they edit or do anything, then that causes some issues through the zoning side. We also have that happening in some of our rural agricultural areas where, you get down towards the bottom over here, and there's a lot of in the Estrada area, and there's a lot of housing that's in there that is not the 3 acre minimum in there. So it's another issue with legal non-conforming lots all over the place. And we have that within our historic zone as well. So just in looking at and thinking about this is maybe the potential of what does that look like as a whole, to bring that forward to, or creating some sort of usage through ordinance that helps out residents that already have legal non-conforming non-conforming properties
Right.
that are legal. Now, of course, there's illegal properties that have been done illegally, and not following the process. And so those would take a different process, but those that are legal, how do we bring them to be legal?
Right.
So,
Gonna say thank you guys so much again. And I will say too, again, thank you for helping us iron out some of the questions and kinks because I think it'll make it that much smoother for tomorrow night. So I'm gonna actually pass out a card real quick for you all, or for you, Karina, sorry. Sorry, no offense. But yeah, if you have any follow-up questions or if you have contacts, especially regarding thank you. In 2.5 months. Yeah, I was early enough that,
You can still do it.
Yeah, I think I can still do it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. You guys.
Well, yeah, I wrote my notes.
thank you all for being here this evening and coming together. I appreciate it.
Those are our dry erase ones.
Yeah, I think the extra markers are theirs.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's tomorrow. 5:30. Be there everywhere. I'll be your fun.
Oh, gosh.
Eddie, I didn't read your text message. What did you tell me about my email?
Yeah, we don't have, I don't know, you're having a hard time getting your email, the old email or the new email?
the new one, I didn't have problems at all before.
Yeah.
And so I didn't get anything. But it doesn't even.
Package and stuff like that?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's why I sent you an email to.
Marcus, 37.
Yeah.
I didn't get that either.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's just community, the commissioner, the two, and then I just the other one.
Okay.
And then the password for all of them, all of them will have the same password. It's Messiah at 2025. And then you can change the password after that.
Okay. Messiah at 25? Messiah.
2025.
Okay.
All right. You have any problems?
Okay, thanks. There he is. Did you get your water? Okay.
Oh, so this monitor works.
This is much easier to read than the
Yeah.
streets. You know, I kept trying to figure out where we were.
You are.
And so I live right there, that last square. Little tiny square. The smallest square. It's a 3rd acre. And then my mother-in-law, we're building her house right there. You are.
Test.
The mic's on? I don't think so. Is your mic on?
Hello, hello.
Hello, testing? Oh, seems to be on, okay. I'm getting nods back there, so. Oh, she's not here today, huh?
No.
Okay, so I can spread out.
There you go.
Oh, I need to sign it.
Is that ours? Did we get that?
No, this is for my signature.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
It's a note, minutes. Okay. All right, we're commencing the P&Z Planning and Zoning and Historical Appropriateness Commission, and it's little 6:20 or so, and it's Monday, May the 5th. And it starts out with Pledge Allegiance. If you can all join us. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Next order of business is we can do a roll call for determination of quorum. Eddie?
Present.
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 Madam Vice Chair Alba? Commissioner Mobile?
Present.
Commissioner Pop? Present. And Commissioner Aliana? Mr. Chair, you do have one, and there is an absent.
Yeah, I'd like to invite up one of the alternates if you'd like to come up and join us. Make room for you. Thank you. Moving names. Okay, next order of business is if there's any changes or approval for the agenda. Looks like,
I move to accept the agenda.
thank you.
Second.
There's no discussion. I'll go ahead and take the roll call. Commissioner Gallegos?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Chair Walkinshaw?
Yes.
Commissioner Pop?
Yes.
And Commissioner Mobile?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you.
Next order of business is public input on any of the cases we have before us. And if you'd like to come up to the podium and go ahead and state your name and your comment. Looks like, oh, here we go.
This community planning process is very exciting.
Mm.
So nice to see. I would like to reiterate the need for sewage lines, town sewage lines to the Estrada area.
Mm.
And there may be other areas as well that
Mhm.
are needed, so that we don't need to all have septic tanks everywhere.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? Okay. I think we're going to move on, and I need approval for the consent agenda, which is just one item. It's the minutes from the work session and the public hearing and the regular minutes for the April 21st meeting.
I move to accept.
All right.
Second.
Okay, if there's no discussion, I'll go ahead and take roll call. Commissioner Gallegos?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Pop?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're down to action and consideration for the projects. And the first case is 0619997, which is at 2547 Calle de Norte, submitted by Rosalina. Help me out on this. Contreras, thank you. She's seeking permission to restore the rear and the east side of her exterior restoration on her adobe house that's on the corner of Norte and Owese, I believe. So that's it. You want to?
Yeah, this is an application that has been submitted. It is a renovation application. Generally, a renovation applications do not come to the planning and zoning, but because of the amount. Remember, if you all recall the amount of what is considered to be a minor restoration, right? So we put that cap, and that falls right on the bar, right in the middle. So I just decided that I think it would be best just to bring it up.
Right.
Mrs. Contreras is planning on restoring all of these exterior walls, but right now, due to financial status and stuff, that she is only doing a part of that, and hopefully that in the near future she'll be able to do the remainder of the house. One of the reasons why we talk about COG and state and federal funds to help these type of residents to be able to do that is important in the sense that I think we're kind of
Right.
Including with the restoration of the walls that are going to be, the doors need some work. The wood up there needs to be restored.
Right.
And such things. So the color's going to be the same. Mrs. Contreras' intent to repair her home is to restore, protect, and preserve her home for years to come. She is calling this a labor of love. The home would have to be initially dissected to view the present material and condition. She is seeking approval to do 2 phases repair. The first phase would be the rear of her home where the door frame, window will be removed in order to remove the plaster around it and fill it with adobe or cinder block if this is the factory material that's behind it, and then plaster and paint it back again. Phase 2 will be to remove the plaster around damaged walls, make adobe repairs if needed, install chicken wire, plaster and paint, removal of paired concrete collars to level, adobe repair if needed, and additionally cut plaster if needed. Install lava stones for line plaster and line wash. This work will be completed by Marco Dominguez, which works with is an apprentice of Pat Taylor and does work with me, Cadencia. Department staff to recommend approval. Ms. Contreras was hoping to for fees to be waived and and or ability to provide some patching repair fees. She just finished restoring the interior a few years ago. What she is doing is what we hope for all historical homeowners to do. However, we do not have the funding capabilities. This is one of the main reasons to achieve our certified local government standing. In the support documents, you will see an application, proof of ownership, and some photographs of the project. Now stand by for any questions. Get a motion.
Yeah, to get a motion, can I have a motion for addressing this project?
So moved.
Second. So any discussion on this project?
I have a question.
Yes,
So we're
thank
gonna
you.
approve the 2 phases at one time, or she's gonna have to come back for the second one? Okay.
Yeah, good.
I don't have any questions.
Yeah, I do have are we able to waiver the fee? Okay, I didn't think so. Yeah, when I first read that, I figured probably not going to happen. Well, it's nice to know that one of Pat's Taylor's interns is doing some work and applying that. That's the whole purpose of the training for the apprentices. So it's good to hear that. And given that, is he a contractor? Is he licensed contractor, or is that an issue? Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? No? They're ready for vote. Yes.
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 Mr. Chair, motion passes 5-0.
Very good, thank you. Next is 6. Well, it doesn't have a B on it. 6B is case 061989. It's at 1358 Snow Road, and it's submitted by Cody McNeil and Miss Jackie Jones. And Eddie, if you can kind of describe the project for us.
Okay, yeah, this is at 1358 Snow Road. It is in the rural farm area. They are requesting for approval to build a residential home on the property and also a middle building for agricultural use. Mr. McNeil and Mrs. Jones have contracted R&R contractor to build the residence and middle building. The middle building will be a barn type accessory to agricultural use as listed in our Mercia Town Code. The barn will be approximately 3,550 square feet and the residence will be approximately 4,243 square feet with additional outdoor living space such as 3-car garage, porch and patio. The total property size is 7.55 acres and approximately 475 linear feet of public frontage floor. Accessory, departmental comment, accessory structures and uses such as barns, corrals, sheds, pens, and similar structures normally incidental to any of the above uses when located on the same lot. Mercia Town Code 18.20.020J. Lot dimensions, each lot should have a minimum width of 225 feet. Each lot should have a minimum depth of 300 feet. Mercia Town Code 18.050B. Height limitations, the maximum height of buildings or structures in our zone shall be 2 stories or 30 feet, whichever is less, 18.20.020 B. The supporting documents that you see along with this package is a contract agreement, the CF business license for the contractor that he needed to get, contractor license, the CND building plans, proof of ownership, and the elevations. I'll stand by for any questions and motion.
Yeah, motion.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Thank you. So, any questions from the commission?
Looks like all the setbacks, everything looked fine. Lots of ponding.
Yeah.
These plans were reviewed by all the members of the review party.
Right.
One thing that I will point out is we did have some discussion with the fire department and the property owner due to the home being quite a bit of ways from the street.
Right,
That
right.
The access road to the residential use and the bar needed to be fire code up to par. And so they, it took us a few days to get that straightened out, but eventually he did sign off with it. And it's good to go.
Okay. Is the applicant here today? Designer. Okay, good. So we have any questions? Any other questions? I have a few. Okay, Eddie mentioned the access road, so that's pretty clear, and it's going to meet the 75,000 pound limit for the fire truck. And good, thank you. And then also, it looks like that fire access road comes up near the barn, and it's just a back end situation, doesn't go around the barn, right? Correct. And what is this? It almost looks like there's a three places that look like kind of an easement. It's a long from the main road, and then also from the, well, yeah, if you can come up and introduce yourself and.
Sure, okay. So, can you please repeat this?
Yeah. So I understand where the main access road is to the residence and the fire, but just next to that one, there's a narrow section, and it doesn't really define what it is.
You mean the wide easement, and then it continues into this sort of.
No, it's a little narrow easement.
22'4".
Oh, those are just dimensions.
Okay. Oh, from property line. That's the same thing for this other. Okay. Thank you. And then, there's a little on the data down here in the right-hand corner. It shows on the legend, it shows flow arrow, but I don't really see where the flow arrow is on the. Oh, okay. I see it. I see now. So that's all for roof drainage coming off the roof. Right. Yeah, I saw your numbers there, so that looks good. And it's going to put in a 7,500 gallon storage tank, right? 750 gallon storage tank for the septic.
Yes.
And no leach field. It's just a.
I want to say it was 750 is what they.
750. Oh, okay. So they do have a leach field rather than a pumping out.
Correct. I think there's a separate septic permit from a separate company. I don't have that.
Oh, okay. Because that was one of my questions: is where's the design for the leach field? So.
It's going to be from whoever the septic company is. I identified where it should be, and then they need to build off that.
Okay. I think Tom might have some comments on questions.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Yes.
That is correct. As far as the septic system, it is permitted through environmental department.
Okay.
Environmental department. The companies that will be installing it are specialty contractors that do that type of work exclusively.
Okay.
They will obtain their permit through the environmental company. They will be inspected by the environmental department and approved by the environmental.
Is that part of CID? Oh, no.
All
Okay.
they do is they bring us a identification number that
Okay.
they submitted for that permit.
Right.
Or have obtained it. And after that, it becomes the sole responsibility of the general contractor.
Okay.
To work, or the homeowner. To
With
work
directly with them. Okay.
We will look at it as far as our plumbing inspectors. We will look at it up to the connection from outside the house.
Okay.
And then the environmental people take it from there.
Take it from there. So it might be a mound system. It might be a subsurface.
Yeah,
we don't know.
Typically, we don't know.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
We don't really know, depending on the soil conditions.
Right.
And what the water tables are, they may have to put in
A mound system or whatever. Yeah. They don't have that depth. Yeah.
Or a grinder pump or something, depending on what's.
Right. And I guess the other question that still applies for a well, right? They don't locate a well here.
No, as long as the amount of property will sustain the
Distance
house,
away.
They do not look for the location of the water and the septic. As far as separation.
The separation, yeah.
Because
Okay.
there's so much land that's being used, as far as improvements to the property that they feel that, it's not needed unless.
Okay.
Unless there's a specific situation that could come up. And going back to that, we're talking about, water table conditions.
Sure,
and things like
sure,
that that could
yeah.
affect how far they have to separate the two.
Thank you. I appreciate that. For the designer, I didn't see anything for electrical plans for the barn, so I'm wondering.
There should be some electrical plans for the barn.
But it's not in this packet. Is that correct? Or
Must be just missing. Did you need an email or?
well, CID would certainly.
Right, we'll need it when it comes to our office. We'll review for that.
Okay.
Yeah, but.
So we don't.
It's not gonna hold anything back.
Okay. Okay.
I know I drew one.
Okay. Okay. Right. Right. And I promise this might be my last comment, is on A1B, which is the plan for the barn. I'm a little confused about A1, and A1 is the floor plan for the barn. Or the house. It says main house plan. But it shows, it looks like a elevation for the barn.
A2 is the elevations for the main house, and A1B should be I'm sorry, A1B is the full set of floor plan and floor elevations for the barn.
So it's just might have been mislabeled as far as.
This sheet has both floor plan and
Right.
elevations for the barn.
Oh, okay.
It might just be mislabeled.
Mislabeled, yeah. It seems like it says floor plan for the main house. So, yeah. Okay.
Oh, unless it's a call out as a.
Okay.
I see, yeah, those weren't changed, those are obviously typos, should be, directional elevation.
Okay. Good. Thank you. And I guess one more on S1B, it shows a detail on D8. I think it's D8. Typical trench drain detail. Where is that located? Is that that's in the barn?
Yeah, right.
Okay. 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 Great. Good. Well, that's all I had. Any other comments? All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. So I guess we're ready for a vote.
All right, so this vote is for case number 061-989. Commissioner Gallegos?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Chair Walton?
Yes.
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 Mr. Chair, motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Next is case 061-996. It's 2938 Valle Grande, submitted by Paul Carodi. I guess Carodi, is that correct? Submitted approval for addition to his house, and it's zoned RF, rural farm.
Yeah, this is, again, case number 061-996. The address is 2938 by Grande. I was submitted by Paul Carodi, and he is requesting approval for the addition to his home. The very first thing that stood out to me was the size of the property, because it is on the RF zone. New requirement for the building lot is 5 acres. At this present time, Mr. Carodi did mention that he has pools, other purpose in the past, and there was on record a document that stated it was a conforming lot.
Right.
It was intact before 1972.
Oh, right.
I did include that, I believe.
Yes, I think you did, yeah.
Yeah, again, I think the time in the county, we did pull that, so it is a conforming lot. It is a legal non-conforming lot, my apologies, which means that he's able to
Yeah,
make
because
that
of the date.
request. They were reviewed by the CID, fire department, public works itself. I don't have any issues with it whatsoever, and I stand by for any questions and amendments.
Can I have a motion for addressing this?
So moved.
Second.
All right, thank you.
Any discussion?
I have a question, Mr. The question is that it's a 4.6 acre lot, right? 0.46. And so you said that all the paperwork that is here, it was okay for it to go, even though it's not a 0.5.
Right, it's supposed to be 5.0.
Yeah, 5 acre. It's RF.
Oh.
And that's why I look towards the county to obtain that paperwork to state that property was that size before March 14, 1972.
Oh, okay.
Before the code, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And Eddie, on the, under department comments, it says contractor has submitted a business license, but it's not in the packet. Is that?
Yeah, the business licenses that the contractors submit, because it's not, if you look at our administrative authority, the business license that is not-
okay.
Yeah, generally, especially when it's administrative approved, this is not the case, but administrative approval, for renovations and maintenance, and they get a new contractor, it doesn't make sense to give them administrative approval, but you can't do the work because you have to go through the process of getting it approved.
Oh, okay, okay.
So all contractors that are required to get a business license will not have an office here in Lucia.
Right.
Get administrative approval with that.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Let's see. No, I don't think I had any.
I had none.
Yes, please, go ahead.
I had none.
Oh, none.
Not one, none.
Not one, none. All right. All right, I think any other comments? I think we're ready for a vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
All right, the next one, the case 061999, which is one Calle Pacana, submitted by Sydney Gale and Michael Drew Detcher, thank you. Requesting approval to construct a primary residence on the property zoned HR.
Yes, the applicant is here, not the applicant.
Right, yeah.
This is a kind of, I'm sure everyone's familiar with that, that is the property.
Call this.
You go in, there's a vacant property, that's 19. You also see a picture of
Right.
where that property is at on the packet. New residents will have a Spanish territorial architectural design. It will have approximately 2,100 square feet of heating space. Which includes public patio, garage, and entry porch. Total square footage of the property is 10,890 square feet. The new home total square footage will be 34% of the parcel, which is within the Seattle Town Code 18.35.06.
Which is 40%, correct? Yeah, okay.
New residential structures for single-family residents available with 3 off-street parking is required. Parcel property is not in the flood zone according to FEMA flood map website. The property does sit lower than the street level. Consideration needs to be given to this, and foundation needs to be above irrigation flooding danger. We have a couple other homes that live in that area also that CAD may comment on that.
Okay, okay.
The elevations. supporting documents, New Mexico CID plans, contractor, property owner agreement, contractor license, proof of ownership, with and department comments, 18 point, Messiah Town Code 18.35060B, development standards, a minimum of 40% of the property shall be open space as is required in order to limit the density of development of each parcel. Messiah Town Code 1860.170C2, residential use, including historical residential, all new residential building sites shall provide the required parking spaces pursuant to parking space requirements contained in this section.
Right.
For a motion and any questions anybody has.
Can I get a motion, please?
Yeah, move to discuss PZHAC case 061999.
Second.
All right, thank you. Eddie, since you brought that up about the lowness of the property, what's the sewer? It's on town sewage, right? So is there an issue because of elevation and invert elevations for the? Yeah. Thank you. Right.
But because of the fact that this is lower than the street level.
Right.
It might automatically raise a red flag that there could be a problem there as far as elevation. This is why we normally would have the house elevated in order to be able to get proper drainage away from the home into the sewage system. It's also because of drainage around the house as well.
Right.
Once construction starts, it'll have to be determined as to how high the pad's gonna have to be elevated.
Right.
Typically, there could be a floodplain elevation certificate that would need to be obtained by a surveyor, so that we know exactly what those elevations are.
Right.
So that they could make that determination. But as far as the code basically states that as long as the house is built a minimum of 12 inches above the road.
Oh, okay.
They should have sufficient elevation for that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Mr. Maestas, so the nearby residents, there are houses that are already established there. They had to meet that criteria as well, correct?
I would assume.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Gallegos, every one of those houses in that cul-de-sac have the same problem.
Right.
So they either have to be raised up high enough, whether they want to raise them up higher than the street, or they can raise them up as far as being able to get the elevation to install their utilities properly. It's totally up to them. We do not insist that the house be elevated 12 inches above the road, but the code does recommend that you at least get it that high so you don't have any problem, not just so much with your utilities, but just run off from the street and Mother Nature herself.
There are some pictures of pumps and stuff like that.
Yeah, they could.
Yes. If they want to leave it down that low, it wouldn't be recommended because of the fact that, there still is irrigation going on in that area.
Right.
But if they do want to leave it and they do want to provide some kind of barrier to keep the water away from the house,
right,
they would have to install a booster pump.
Right. Right.
Very costly. Not recommended unless the last resort.
Right.
So if they can bring the house up as far as the elevation of the house, bring the building pad up high, so that it does build proper slope, they don't have to go that way.
Yeah. They'd bring in some fill and what have you.
It would just be because the street is there's already sewer lines there.
Right.
In the street itself. They would only have to pump from the house to that main.
And that's pretty close too. Yeah. Yeah.
So if they get it up high enough that they get the building pad up high enough, they can eliminate having to do that.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
So if we wanted to pass it, can we pass it with a condition, or that's really not up to us?
I can't make that call, Commissioner. That's gonna be up to you guys. I don't know. Representing the state, the CID, typically, it's not something that we'll put a condition on.
Okay.
Until we get into the actual construction phases of the project itself. And at that time, it'll have to be, we'll have to take a look at it out in the field to
Okay.
see exactly what's gonna have to be done. So to put a condition on it at this stage would probably kind of be premature.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, good. Yeah, good question and good answer. I like that.
Typically what happens with that, if I may also include it, is a lot of these sewer lines that are coming from Mesilla, they're
Mhm.
not all the same lines.
Yeah.
You know, depending on where they're at.
Yeah.
As
Sure.
Mr. Mansky was mentioning, once they start to build and they start digging to find out where that sewer line is at, that's what's gonna determine where that house is.
Elevation.
How high it needs to be. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Does the, thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. Does the designer have any comments about this?
I'm actually a contractor.
Or contractor, I'm sorry.
So, yeah, sure.
If you could state your name so we can.
My name is Judd Singer.
Okay. Thank you.
Actually, it built houses or a house on that street.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
very familiar
Right.
with the sewer
And water and,
as
right.
providing sewer documentation
Right.
in reality.
Okay.
So, I am.
Okay, good.
So we plan to elevate the house roughly 6 inches above the road. A final determination of that elevation will be made to achieve the quarter.
Yeah. So my assumption when we say from the road, it's not the main road, it's the road in the cul-de-sac. Okay, okay, thank you. Just. Oh, okay, okay, good. All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Any other comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Mr. Salazar, so I'm looking at the home and how it's situated on the lot, and correct me if I'm wrong, but are there not pecan trees on that lot? There used to be an old orchard. Is there no pecans?
Kind of
let it go. Yeah.
Therefore,
There's 4.
Okay.
I think they're going to maintain them, right?
4 trees. Okay.
They've already been moved. Okay.
Okay. So there are no trees on the. They're just 4 left.
Still.
My question is,
remaining,
are we gonna keep those trees on the?
We've already moved them.
To another
Relocated them.
relocated.
4 trees have been relocated.
Okay.
On the property. Okay. Thank you.
Good, thank you. We always need trees. So, any other comments? All right, I think, Eddie, we're ready for a vote.
Yes.
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 And Commissioner Noel.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the last is discussion about the arts and culture draft ordinance that we've had I think just one work session on.
Yeah, it wasn't much of it. We talked about it briefly. It was just something that I gave it out to y'all. I didn't have a work session this time around, but we did have a comprehensive kind of joint session with DOT.
Right.
Hopefully you had an opportunity to review it. It was just, again, the board trustees already reviewed it.
Right.
They wanted us to review it ourselves to make sure there was any conflict in any sections of our code. And you notice the fonts that are in red are the changes that
Right.
were made with recommendations from the board trustees before it got.
So you're just asking for our approval or the vote? Recommendation, yeah. Yeah, okay. All right. Any comments on the draft ordinance? Oh, I'm sorry. Can we have a motion?
Second.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. Any discussion? And again, this is kind of a process, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, we call it a living document. This is something we can implement it and then we can see how it works, and obviously there's always
Chance of.
we go back and some
changes. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Having been to the board of directors or BOT meeting when they discussed it, they
Mhm.
were pretty adamant about, they wanted the final say
Control.
on,
Yeah.
on this.
That is.
So you see it in every point.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Any other comments? I think we're ready for vote.
Commissioner Gallego,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Pzhac,
Yes.
Commissioner Paz,
Yes.
and Commissioner Ogden.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, motion passes 5-0.
All right. Thank you. All right. Now we're down to any commissioners and staff general comments.
I got a few training.
Yeah.
Just around the corner. If some of you couldn't go, I understand. You know, what I mean, everybody's got the things they need to get done.
Yeah.
But I did, the hotels and the registration for the events already been taken care of. I sent that information with the new emails.
Yes. Yes.
Everybody's able to get to the emails now, hopefully.
I got it.
Again, it's just man, it's difficult to try to figure out how I get a hold of you now that I erased it, right? So, yeah, all that information is there, your registration is there, and your emails should be good to go. If not, again, just email us, it's pretty simple to set that up. We're very close. Next meeting, we'll be talking about COG, and the plan is to have a workshop next upcoming meeting, and to Ms. Liana's gonna lead that, and she's
Right.
gonna help us with getting us on the right track with getting certified through local government. So that's exciting. It's exciting because I think it's gonna really help our community out. A lot of these residents that need the help, they wanna do it, right? And
You're right.
passion for it. Hopefully these are,
Mm.
hopefully this way, it's a means for them to get that done.
That's on the 19th, correct?
I'm sorry?
19th.
Yes, that is the plan, and again, the mayor's also got on his agenda, so.
Yeah, I know. That's.
That might change.
Isn't the municipal league coming that day to give us a little training?
It was gonna be a virtual.
Oh, a virtual. Okay. Okay.
Again,
Okay.
it's getting pushed back.
But it's at the same time at 5:00. Okay.
Is that on the 19th or no?
It is the 19th. That Monday.
The 19th? 19th.
19th. Yeah.
And they will, but we don't, is it confirmed or it's not?
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
We're working on records management. It's another thing, you know, our records that we have. We gotta be selective to which one we're gonna keep. There is a state statute that regulates record management for municipalities. There are some generally that you only need to keep them for a year. We're talking physical copies. We're not talking about obviously they're gonna get scanned and be kept in
Right.
in the system. But having a large amount of zoning permits and larger tax receipts and all that stuff really creates a burden for space.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
being able to get to it possible. So that's another thing is that some of the business licenses that were 2 years ago, you know, already been approved, they're in the process, really no need to keep those documents. So
Right.
it's another thing we're working on. Though that resolution will be presented to the board of trustees, because we are the ones who need to get that.
Right. Right. Okay.
Other than that, what am I missing? Anything? The fiesta was awesome.
Oh, it was packed.
Fiesta for a bit, my first time. I really enjoyed it. So,
Yeah, it's.
congratulations.
And the weather held off and.
That's all.
Good. Any commissioner comments, general comments? I did have one, maybe it could be directly to you, Eddie, is, you know, I'm still a little bit concerned about that auto repair shop on Wesay and what's the side road there. I thought, well, status report is when we approved it, it was a condition of having a fence screening up there. Well, it's not there.
No, we didn't. We approved it was for a metal building, over.
Or the,
Lift.
oh, metal building. That's right. Okay.
There were some comments about
Screening it.
as well to keep it.
Yeah.
I just talked to him, matter of fact, like 2 days ago.
Okay.
He wanted to get his business license. He says, no. He goes, again, I just had to educate him.
Okay.
That, he cannot get his business license, he's not approved unless he meets all the conditions that were set. by the
Right.
commission.
Okay.
So, he did have a court date, the judge is the one that really determines, how much time he has.
Oh,
before he puts that up.
to comply.
One of the things that, I learned from that, I think I wanted to share is, maybe next time there is some special use permits of such, to give you time frame.
Yeah.
You know, you have 90 days to be in compliance and just, and not, we're opening your license.
Start all over.
You need to either reapply or you need to take it down. That's one thing that I take away from that.
Okay. Okay.
But really, the judge is the one that allows so many days to be out.
To
of
comply.
compliance.
Okay.
Allows them to continue to do business as long as we're working with them and such, but, yeah, when he comes up with that building, that will be submitted as a zoning permit and be reviewed by this commission as well.
Yeah.
So again, what we approved during the special use permit was just the concept part of it, what he needed to get done.
Okay.
In order to continue to do business.
Yeah.
He still would need to come in and.
Okay.
present that.
Thank you.
So could I, excuse
Go
me,
ahead.
could I get clarification? So he is operating without a license? Yes.
No, I don't know, I didn't check, but the last I heard, from the code enforcer was the judge allowed him to work, on cars as long as no more than 3 cars.
Well, there's more than 3.
Yeah.
And that's
Always.
definitely a code enforcement, and it is cause for concern.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for the update. Appreciate that. All right. So now we're ready for adjournment. I need a proposal and a second.
Move to adjourn.
Second,
Very good. That's always easy to do.
all in favor?
Right.
Aye.
No one says, usually no.
More discussion about not wanting to go home, I'll take a vote.
Okay. Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopper?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Mobile?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That was pretty quick.
I should have said no. Just
Adjourned.
kidding. I should have said no. Just kidding.
I was gonna say, most definitely.
Let's just do that for
Yeah.
one time. See what kind of response we get.
Etsy.
No way.
Like $50. Yeah, I saw it and I was like, I need it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I should.
Like, look, boys.
Yes. Like, this is what you need to get.
Right, right.
Notorious is.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
It's just a little pettiness, man.
Good night. Hasta la vista, primo. Yeah, you too.
Fire doors that automatically lock the fire, they trigger building individuals.
Yeah.
Great job, guys.
Make sure you do that.
Tired
I
again.
know. I will say, I see worse. It's not worse.
You gotta have at least 70 feet. Are you gonna put the carport? I'm assuming a road's coming from down here, and talking about this neighbor from the property. Edge of the carport to the actual property line. You see the fence there? I have looked at 3 feet, but it is a metal. If it is though, if it is fire resistant, which is all.
Spread the word on that. Thank you too.
According to fire code. And the our code allows us to spread. As far as the front of the house, also said. Like I said, if you can do 3 feet, probably as close as you can do after that. Now, as far as the carport from the house to the carport, there's no longer 10-foot requirement, right? So you can't secure it without, right?
No, can't be secured to the house, but you can still maintain some kind of separation.
Yes.
It doesn't matter, I mean, you could have 6 inches from your house to your, where your carport starts. But as long as you have that separation, then you're okay.
I just don't bolt it.
Just don't,
It's not good to the ground.
yeah, don't attach it to the house because then you're gonna have more problems.
First of all, those are like heights, you don't wanna probably just rip around and figure out. Second, then you go into another building code that you probably have to.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate
I'm
you.
looking at Maybe I'll talk to you later, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, drumming up business for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Well, I hate to see you sit over here with nothing to do.
No, did a lot, yeah.
It's really good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Okay.
All right, thank you for that.
Hi, Ms. Gruber.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, I'm hoping I'm doing good. I'm doing better, I'm going that way, we're making improvements.
You'll find out.
Okay, we'll find out.
Bye-bye.
Take care, have a good night.
You stopping?
Yeah, we need to ship it off, if it's not off yet. So, ¿está perdido?
No, they left all the, everybody's,
Oh.
she's leaving.